Listening to Moonhawk Studios presents.
All right, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Moonhawk Studios Presents. And if you're hearing this now, that means those sons of bitches haven't removed us from the air yet. Woo!
Yay.
All right, I am your host, Mac Paladin, and we've already broken the no potty mouth rule for this episode.
Dude, that was never real, and you know it, asshole.
All right. Allegedly, as always, we have a great show for you tonight. And of course, we've got a full crew and a guest. But before we get into that, let me introduce you to our crew once again. Of course, with me in the studio, as always, is my good friend Adam.
These take longer than they used to.
You're starting to sound like a crotchety old man. You're like, this is different, and I just don't like things that are different.
And I'm just tired after, my own show.
Yeah. Well, you've also had quite a few this week. You had like a morning show yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah, we had the morning show. We have the Sunday reviews. Like we do a lot of stuff. It's also I'm tired of the world exploding.
It's the end of the world as we know. I've got to go.
More on that later.
Yes, emphasis on moron.
Yes.
Of course, we have our other co-host, Elemental Ogre.
Well, I guess tonight you won't walk alone, so.
And we got Sobe in the house.
What?
Petty Fan
I
is
got you
working.
guys.
Petty Fan is working the gizmos.
Yay. I actually did my job, too.
Oh, you deleted Gordius by mistake. Well, I don't think anybody will miss it too badly.
You and Tyler are the only one who gets that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
22 sectors tested. Fragments in one direction.
Okay.
Oh.
Wearing his usual hat is the Galix.
Can you see me?
I'm outside your window.
Oh man.
That is a weird collection you have in there, man.
I can neither confirm nor deny this unless you're talking about my Amiibo collection, which is only unusual in its size.
Oh man.
And I don't even have the Kingdom Hearts ones.
I'm not sure if that's TMI or not.
I meant Animal Crossing. Why
I was gonna ask. They did Kingdom Hearts one?
Man, after that, Twilight Winter has exited the building.
Sometimes I feel like I'm the only sane man.
We all know that's not true.
You're on this show. There's no way that's true. All right, as I mentioned, we allegedly have a great show for you tonight. Adam, why don't you lead us off with the news?
The news is there's too much damn news.
Yes.
Let's narrow it down to personal news, then.
Yes, for now.
Yeah. Like personal news, opened a new bank account this week. Basically, as I explained it on the other show, moving my account to a bank that's closer than, say, half an hour, 45 minutes away.
Ooh.
Yeah, I used to live closer to the old bank, which is why I never changed the account. And I don't have to go down to the bank often, but when I do, it's a bit of a trek. So I'm kind of fixing that. And that's about it as far as news goes. Ogre, why don't you go?
Yes.
Well, I went to the dentist today. I had to get a filling adjusted because it was one of those anchor teeth for my dentures, which wasn't that bad. And then I got the dentures tightened up, so they should hopefully with at least the denture cream, stay put a lot better than they were beforehand. So I was having trouble biting into harder foods without them trying to pop out even with the cream on. So recordings are going fine. Still not even. We're getting close to being done with the game, but my God, this was a lot longer than I expected it to be.
Sticker Star?
Yeah, it's Color
Or-
Splash.
Color Splash.
Well, I was
Sorry.
expecting it to be Sticker Star like length, but all of a sudden it's like, no, it's. If there were actual battles in here, we'd be at this game fucking longer.
And then you get to the point where you unlock the super island.
Fuck that. Somebody else can do that. Let's see. My dad's birthday comes up this Saturday, so we're gonna watch that new Aliens movie during then. Crossing my fingers on it, but from what I've heard, it's not that great. But it is kind of going off of Prometheus, so low bar to begin with. And Final Fantasy 14 stuff's been going along pretty well. We just had the servers move, which was a 2-day experience for, I guess, people having to do different stuff. And I'm almost done with the latest Alexander stuff. I just got to take down Alexander himself in Savage mode. God, is A11S a fucking... just I want to say menagerie of just, hey, should I be hit by this? No! That's a vulnerability stack. That is a bad move. Why do I have 30 all of a sudden?
Tanks getting vulnerability up is not a good thing.
No, it is not. And also the trailer / main theme song for Stormblood dropped the other day, and I have had that on fucking repeat forever. Because I fucking enjoy it, and I'm gonna enjoy it until the damn thing comes out in a month's time.
And then you're gonna sit there on the client and have it playing nonstop.
Oh, that pretty sure I'll be out there for an hour going like, come on, let me on. We're not even on a heavy population server. Come on.
Oh, trust me,
was
they'll
the
all
point of-
become heavy population patch day.
It's like they just moved the servers for this whole purpose. What the hell? Well, that and item stuff, but that's technical mumbo jumbo for things that not necessarily everyone cares about.
Right.
I'm pretty sure Mac fell asleep when I said vulnerability stacks.
Oh no, I was listening. Didn't you hear me chuckling?
Oh, I heard you chuckling, but I thought it was a sleep chuckle.
No. I even though I'm not familiar with it in the specific context of Final Fantasy 14, I am aware of what that is. Remember, I do play MMOs.
Yeah. But let's see. That is pretty much about it for me. So
All right.
whoever's next is next.
Let's get Sobe in there, as she is the part of the quartet here.
Quickly unmuting myself.
Just
Oh,
like,
God.
surprise, I'm on the air.
Sometimes I have to remind myself that you guys talk about like video
Nerd
games.
stuff.
And so when you were about to take Alexander out earlier, I was like, oh my God, what did he do to you?
He didn't do anything. He was judging if I was worthy enough to try to save the world, and apparently he said, "Yep, this is the guy who's doing it."
Yeah, sounds about right. Well, good
Him
job.
and everyone else in this 100-man raid.
Well, they don't tell you that. Then you wouldn't feel super special and awesome and stuff.
All right.
Good. I spent the week
Also-
doing great things, you guys. I'm kidding. I did nothing except look for a rusty old can of Hamdingers. Didn't find it. Went on with my life.
Oh, I'm sure somebody on eBay might have it somewhere.
I'm
Ye-
sure. And society.
It's like, no, really, I was just looking for a novelty item. I'm not trying to hook up. It's like, Hamdingers is not a code for something.
Yeah, we covered
What?
that last week.
It, it is code for looking for a food staple that disappeared, and I think we're happy for that to have happened.
All right. All right, so we covered hamdingers. Let's see. Petty Fan, what you got cooking? Besides ham.
Monday, I get to see the surgeon about my knee, so that's gonna be fun. Not looking forward to it, but it's either knee surgery now or knee replacement in like 10, 15 years. Other than that, I've been playing Nier Automata, so that's been kind of fun.
In a depressing but uplifting kind of way.
Kind of. I beat the first route, so time to figure out what the hell I need to do after that. 'Cause this game is not exactly, you know, forthcoming with what you need to do to get the different endings.
Hmm.
Aside from that, not a whole lot's been going on. Other than I got us a guest.
Woo! And the natives are already getting restless, so I'm going to move this whole news segment on. Galix, what have you got cooking?
Well, it's been pretty warm up here for Maine, and I like it not pretty warm, but it's not supposed to stay warm enough to justify putting in the air conditioner. I've been trying to make sure I'm getting up earlier this week because we have an all-staff meeting this Friday that I have to be up early for at work. I still haven't seen the Nintendo Direct that was earlier, but I heard there was some interesting stuff revealed, so I downloaded the ARMS test punch thing for whenever that's going to be, and
Disclaimer: no Nintendo game footage was shown during the airing of this podcast.
indeed. And I got a new Humble Bundle for video games earlier today. That was a Humble Indie Bundle that has some pretty neat stuff in it. Other than that, it's been pretty slow around here.
All right, Twilight.
And not much going on around here. We've basically been starting on our spring/summer garden for this time of year that we usually do. Besides that, not much else. Been playing games. So next.
Well, bringing up the rear as always is me. Yay! All right. Well, I've been watching our guests' films. They're quite entertaining, actually. But I have a huge interest in all things abandoned. So this is right up my alley. And I heard a rumor that that Sobe likes these Nat Geo style exposés. So we might be in good hands here.
I did it good.
Yep. Other than that, let's see. Film is moving along at we seem to have brought it up a notch. Keith has almost completed the 3D model of the Moonhawk, so we're getting ready to release our first tech demo of the Starship Moonhawk for the first time. So you will actually see a fully articulated 3D model of the ship moving in real time. And since there has never, ever been an animation of the Moonhawk before, this is a pretty big deal for us.
And by fully articulated, you mean doors?
The Moonhawk does actually have fully functional doors that Keith was considering. There's I'll let a little spoiler out here. At some future point in the series, we will reveal that there is something inside the two big doors on the front of the Moonhawk. Notice how I made it sound like there was a spoiler, but didn't actually reveal it. Keith would like to model said object and have it emerge from the doors at the end of the tech demo. I'm still debating this because it's kind of a spoiler for a plot line 5 episodes down the line. So we want to not give away the farm, as they say, but we do want a fully functional one. I thought it would be kind of funny if we had a pan across the bow of the ship, and then the doors open and there's darkness inside, and the camera moves toward it, and then all you see is a flash of light, and then it has our credits. Just to screw around with people a little bit there, but we'll see
But
how that.
how are you going to model the secret teddy bear reserve?
I'm not even sure how to respond to that. What's great about this is we have a rather lengthy piece of music in the unofficial soundtrack. The reason I call it unofficial is because it's never actually been used in the capacity of a movie or television show related to Starship Moonhawk. All of the music was specifically written for it, but does not have any particular scene in mind. It's the album that I'm selling on Amazon actually just has a bunch of tracks that are general themes. You can't see me making air quotes with my fingers unless I turn my camera on, but it's general themes is the idea. So that way we have a romance theme and a happiness theme and an introspection theme and an enemy theme, battle themes, and so on and so forth for hypothetical scenarios throughout the series. But again, they've never been used for anything other than my personal amusement. So now that we actually have the film in place, we're contemplating how to use these. There's this almost 7-minute long piece called "The Moonhawk" on the soundtrack album, and it is inspired by Jerry Goldsmith's piece from Star Trek: The Motion Picture, The Enterprise, and there's even some similar motifs throughout the piece. But other than that, it's an almost completely original piece involving a brief movement of the Starship Moonhawk theme and so on and so forth. It has a lot of the wind and sails and fife and drum and stuff like that was rejected by director Robert Wise from the original soundtrack that was written for Star Trek: The Motion Picture. So kind of some fun stuff there that we've cobbled together. But I really hope to be able to have the tech demo available soon, because my YouTube channel, aside from our podcast, is still rather barren. And I filled that in because we gained 3 subscribers last week.
Yay! It's the Humdingers, right? Or Hamdingers?
Yeah. Humdingers are completely different from
Yes.
them, but yeah. Those Hamdingers were a humdinger. Anyway.
As long as we avoid the ham hummers.
No.
Wow.
See, now that is code.
All right, so we ready to get on with it?
Just one last thing to report, and that is that we do have, as I said last week, we have all of the principal photography done for all of the clips in Act 1 of Starship Moonhawk, The Mercadian Affair, which means that now we are moving on to post-processing. And I can't remember if I mentioned this before, but I'm going to go ahead and officially announce it here, at least on the podcast. Brian Olvera will be voicing Lord Gardu.
Nifty.
Yep. So he will be our 6th Funimation actor to join the cast. So pretty pleased about that.
Are you trying to make it a full set?
I'd like to make it a baker's dozen. Get a 13 just seems like a nice round number. Every time it's Friday the 13th, I have my best sales days ever, but that's because I'm a redhead and have no soul. So,
woohoo! Blood brother.
Stay walkers. All right, that's enough nattering for one episode. Let's move on to the main event. Of course, everybody in the chat on YouTube, I'm sure, has been waiting for this moment. I'd like to introduce our guest for this week. I know it's a shock. We have one. Woo! I've got Jake Williams from Bright Sun Films.
Woo!
Welcome to the podcast, sir.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I believe you are representing yourself and a number of other individuals.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. When people think of Bright Sun Films, what is it that they should know most about your organization?
That I'm a complete amateur trying to make good films on YouTube.
All right. Now I've been watching your series Abandoned. I started
Mhm.
watching some episodes today, and I've been trying to catch up with it so that way I had some actual good fodder. Now, as
Right.
I mentioned in the earlier part of my news segment, this is kind of right up my alley. I love this kind of stuff. Exploring lost
Mhm.
and forgotten stuff.
Right.
Um,
Right.
um, right now you mostly use a lot of still images and stuff like that, but I did see that you had a couple of videos that had um, you were actually on location examining the
Right.
site.
Right.
Are you hoping to do more of that, or is that out of the cards?
Well, yeah, they're two different series. One is Abandoned, and the other is a series we do called the Explorer, where we actually go to the place, like you said. Um, for the topics that we cover on Abandoned, usually the place is gone, and it has been gone for the past 10 years or so, or whatever. But for Explore, I mean, it's more the stuff that we come across and that I find interesting, and that I know I can make an interesting. I wouldn't say film, but like an interesting video of an abandoned building. And I know like there's a bunch of exploration YouTubers out on YouTube right now, and there's like the market's so saturated with all these videos of like these kids going in an abandoned building with a iPhone 7. And yeah, so I mean, I try to do it a little differently with some expensive equipment, and make it more of an experience than a video.
Okay. Now, for your Abandoned series, where you talk about the history of the show and stuff like that,
Mhm.
if you could walk us through your research process just a little bit.
Oh God. Um, uh, yeah. Well, I think the principle I've always had with abandon was like, there's so many topics out there that people want to know about, but the information is like scattered on all these different news articles from the 90s or 80s, and different clips on YouTube. So it was always my goal to try and collect all of this information that's just like scattered across the internet and bring it in one place. And that was the core principle of Abandoned. So for me, it takes probably about a week to put together all the information. And I do have a research team now. So we have a few people that like scour the internet for different information, give me a guideline for what I need to write, and then I make a script. And that probably takes about a week to do. And it's the worst part about making Abandoned, because it's just ridiculously tough to make sure you have everything right, and you got to make the script sound coherent and intelligent, which I'm not. So it's a little hard to persuade people that. But yeah, it's a difficult process, but I guess it comes out well in the end.
Well, like I said, I've really enjoyed what I've seen of the show so far. It's
Thank you.
um, how do you choose your locations?
Um, well, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've done a lot of Disney stuff, and personally, I've just been interested in Disney history and the abandoned places that Disney has. So usually it's a few ideas that we've done have been because of we know it'll be popular, like Circuit City or Ames or whatever. But for me, it's usually something that I'm interested in. I'm not going to spend an entire week researching something if I'm not going to be interested in it. So uh, at the end of the day, it's always going to be something that I find interesting.
I have a habit of wandering and spelunking my own neighborhood. My trick to avoid trouble is to always have my phone against my ear, so that way nobody tries to mess with me.
Yeah, yeah. Good tactic. Good tactic.
Of course, now that I've revealed this on the air to my tens of fans. All right, Petty Fan. Now you located our guest here. What did you have any ideas that you wanted to ask him about?
Just what brought the shows like Abandoned to, made you want to do them in the first place? Was it just purely an interest and you wanted to share that interest, or is there something else?
Yeah, I've always, like I said, it pretty much all started with Disney abandoned places because, like I said before, finding information, like finding a video that had all of this stuff collected in one place was pretty hard to find. There was always like these there's a place called River Country in Disney that's this abandoned water park, and I've always been interested in that ever since like 2010, I think. And trying to find like an informational video on that was like impossible. There was, I think, like two videos of this guy just talking to a camera, and I thought like there should be something that's pretty much, I guess it's like a documentary that's like showing the history, the past, the present, and the future of an abandoned place. And I think that's an interesting look into something like that, which people haven't really done before on YouTube. So for me, it was like, I guess I should just try that. And if you've ever watched my earlier abandoned videos, they're really, really terrible. And I've slowly gotten better, and the production quality has increased since then. But yeah, for me, it's always been something that I knew didn't exist on YouTube, and I just wanted to make it exist on YouTube, I guess. So I made it.
Right.
Now,
Right.
now, for your Explorer show, what
Mhm.
are some of the challenges you've had with getting into locations?
Oh man, it's I don't know if you could tell, but we haven't done a lot of explore videos. I think we're 4 or 5 now,
Mhm.
over the span of like 8 months. It is pretty difficult. I live in Canada, so
Uh-huh.
there's already a degree of difficulty of getting in places in Canada because everything is so far apart, and usually property owners in Canada are a lot tighter on these buildings, and they're demolished rather quickly.
Right.
So yeah, it's always an issue. We have, like, I'd say about 90 different locations that we're always checking up on every few months to see if there's an access point in them, because we'll never break into a building. We'll go in it if there's a door wide open or something. Like, we don't want to cause any trouble with that, but
Right.
Last thing you
Um,
need is to actually film you committing a crime, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we'd never want to encourage trespassing or vandalism or anything like that. So the only places we've ever filmed at were like these buildings that are going to be demolished rather quickly and all that. But oh god, there's every single time we go to an abandoned building, there's always a problem, whether it's law enforcement or it's like we just can't get into a building. We've probably gone to, I'd say, about 20 or 30 different locations where we just couldn't get in. We had to drive back. It's it's a constant challenge, which is why it's very difficult to film these places.
Okay. How far ahead do you like to work as far as the filming and stuff like that?
Right now, I probably have about I think I have videos planned to the 1st of July, I think. So I
Mhm.
try to keep. I'm always either writing scripts or editing the next video. I have a video coming out this Friday, and that video itself took I think like 4 weeks just to make the damn thing. So I always have to plan ahead, but I always have to take into account on how slow I am on making these things.
Uh-oh.
Mhm.
All right. Let's see here. Place you would most like to go.
That's a tough one. There's a lot. I'd say my top two would be Disney's Discovery Island, which is the infamous abandoned island in Walt Disney World
Yes.
that many have not been to until recently. But I think my other pick would be the Six Flags in New Orleans that has been abandoned ever since Katrina. I think those two
Oh,
would
yeah.
probably be my top two. They both look very interesting.
All right. Favorite place you've been so far?
I guess the most interesting one to me would probably be the abandoned game show set that we went to. Circumstantially, it was taken down because the cops told us to take it down. But to me, that was probably, it's back up right now. But to me, it was probably the most unique place I've ever been to. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's not too often you ever get to go to a children's game show TV set. That was it was basically a clone of Wipeout for a Canadian
Right.
broadcasting network.
Yeah, I saw part of that in the video. Yeah,
yeah.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was definitely a cool place to see. It was an experience. I'll give you that.
Now, of course, you said it, and now I have to ask about it. You said the cops made you take one of the videos down?
Well, they didn't make us take it down. We filmed the place about 2 months prior to the video coming out, and me being the stupid person I am, I put all of our names at the end of the video. I guess my name is readily available, but the other two guys that I went with weren't. So after the video came out, it was doing pretty well. It got about 60,000 views on its first week. And the local newspaper that the TV show set was in ran a story of our video. And I think a day later, we were contacted by the local police department saying, yeah, well, it was a little ridiculous. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to talk about this, but I think I am. Who knows? We were contacted, and basically he said, you're encouraging vandalism, which I don't agree with. I don't think the video was doing any harm in a sense. And they were making claims that partying was going on there constantly, which I also don't really believe, because there was very minimal vandalism at the location, so I was a little wary on that fact. But anyways, they said the property owners weren't happy with our videos, so I said, all right, well, you know what? I will try to avoid legal trouble if we just take down the video, and that's what we did. And the cop who called us, he was like, well, we'll call you back in about a week with the property owner, what they tell us. And since that point, we were never called back again. So I guess that was, I think it was just a scare tactic to get us to take down our video. Who knows? But right now, the video, I ever since then, I put the video periodically back up and off again, because I really do love the video. It's a great video. I'm very happy with the outcome of it. So right now it's back up, and I don't know. I've seen a lot of other YouTubers have that location in their videos, so I just figured it was all right to put it back up.
It's kind of interesting because when you're recording something basically for historical preservation.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see anything particularly inflammatory or rude about the video, so.
Yeah, it's not like you put through a party barge into the water out there and you start to have a few beers.
Yeah, the way the police officer explained it to me was a little. I didn't agree with it. He said that that because the word explore was in capital letters in the video, he said that was encouraging vandalism. And I was like,
really?
Yeah, is it though?
Bizarre.
I can see that being a position that you could take legally, but I don't think anyone would take it particularly seriously in a real life context.
I would say that my concern would be more like, you're encouraging people to trespass at work which you're not. You make a lot of disclaimers in your videos. That's.
Yeah, we also do a thing where we never release the location of these places. Whenever anyone if you look up that game show set, there's nowhere on the internet where it says the place. The only way we know it was through people who have been there as show producers when it was active. So, I mean, I don't really know how our video was encouraging people I mean, the only people who would ever know where that place was if you were locals in that town. So to me, it was like, yeah. I mean, we always delete whenever someone does release the location. So, I mean, we're really trying to not let people know where this place is, because if I would understand if we were blasting
if you had a Google Earth zoom in on where it was at the opening, then
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, I could see it at that point, but I mean, we're pretty strict on deleting all comments and all mentions of the location of these places. So yeah.
Interesting.
Man, it's a shame I'm not in college anymore. Now I have an idea for a paper on the hortativity of capitalization.
All right, let's go around the group here. Does anybody have any questions for Jake before I proceed here?
Have you run into any other legal problems?
Legal problem? I don't think so. We're pretty good. We're pretty good legally, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever run into any other legal problems except that that one instance with the Splatter Lot location.
Hmm. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it's when you said you don't put the locations down. I think simply knowing what it is, you can never discount the resourcefulness of the internet to find out exactly what
guess
it is
so.
you don't want them to know.
Yeah, I guess so. The Splatter Lot location, for me, what I've tried everything to find it, and I think that location in particular was very, very difficult to find. I guess I mean really anyone could find anything on the internet, but
Yeah.
you would have to be very, very committed to find that location if you really, really wanted to. And I guess at that point, I don't know, but I guess so.
Yeah. Well, that in and of itself is impressive.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, because this isn't something like, Nickelodeon Resort or something like that, which was a place that a lot of people went to.
Yeah, I think the only way you could ever find that place, because I really don't think there's any article or any. I could be wrong. It could have been after or since I made that video, but I think the only way you could ever find that is if you knew where the town was in Ontario, and if you just scanned Google Maps for about 8 hours, and then you finally found something like it. Otherwise, yeah, I really don't know how else you could find that place. It's pretty difficult.
The dark secret of the program was that they would blindfold all of the guests and put them in a paneled van.
Exactly.
Not even they know where they were at. Fun fact, only the winners went home.
The rest of the children were killed.
You're like, guys, we got to get out of here. There's something under this boat.
That would have made the show a whole lot more interesting, though.
Now, here's a good question. Have you ever found anything that you didn't expect to find?
That's an interesting question. We've come across homeless people before, and I think that's probably the most unexpected.
Get out of my house! God.
Yeah, we've had some creepy experiences in abandoned buildings, but I don't think we've ever come across anything like too out of the ordinary. I mean, we always find drugs and like bloody baseball bats and all that stuff.
But you never found like an actual fresh dead body or whatever, right?
Yeah, I never found a dead body. That's true. It's yet to happen.
We
yet to happen. I like that. I imagine that's not going to be going into a video.
I guess not.
It's like whenever I see abandoned places, my mind goes a little wild. See, I had the misfortune in '94 of seeing the movie No Escape with Ray Liotta. And of course, the island had all this weird stuff like abandoned resorts and stuff that, of course, the bad guys had taken refuge in. So it's like just down the street from me. There's two things. We have an NBC building that used to be an American Home Furnishing Center, and it was a huge mall dedicated to a single store. And they had like a Bally's Fitness in there, and then they had like a historical movie theater that operated all the way up until NBC bought the building. But it was kind of weird because like you'd go into the movie theater and you'd look through the windows to the outside of the furniture mall, and you'd just see like all of these showcase rooms and stuff that had like weird miscellanea in them.
Really, wow.
Yeah, and then like in the opposite direction, there's this pool and spa place that actually has functional swimming pools on the outside that they've got this thing so walled off that you can see all of it, but it's just weird to watch something decay because they have a 20-year lease or whatever, and they just went out of business and they're still paying the lease. It's just weird. Damn it! I just had a thought as a result of that. I did notice something about the Disney River Country. That ticketing area is still surprisingly well manicured for a place that's abandoned.
Yeah, they that part of the former water park that's now being used as a I don't know what it's called. It's like a dinner show or something. So I think that part is still regularly used by guests, high traffic of guests. So I think they do try to keep that well manicured. I mean, it's really that whole place is very, very bizarre on how Disney is still allowing like the fences to be that close to such an abandoned, like a clearly abandoned water slide, and it's just it's very bizarre how that whole place operates.
Some of it looks kind of dangerous.
Yeah, you would think so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I don't want you to like break your rule about not revealing where places are, but is that like adjacent to an existing still functional park, or is that like off the beaten trail, so to speak?
No, River Country is. You're talking about River Country, right?
Yeah.
River Country is literally right at the waterfront section of Fort Wilderness Resort. So if you go into Fort Wilderness Campground Resort or whatever it's called, you go straight to the lake, and if you take a left, then you're literally right at River Country. It's I guess hidden in plain sight. Really, it's a lot of people don't know it's there, but if I guess for the guests who are staying there and know about River Country, you can literally just walk right up to the fence, and there's an abandoned water park right in plain sight.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's pretty exciting. It's kind of, and the other thing that fascinated me about that was, you're looking around and it's like they're clearly acting like they're going to repurpose this place at some point.
It just makes no sense, really. I mean, they're actively demolishing small buildings that are close to the gates, but yet they still have like one of the most focal recognizable points of interest, that main water slide going into the pool, the former pool area. It's still right there, clearly visible through the fence, and it's like, I don't understand why they just don't demolish that portion. It's very odd. They're clearly spending the money to demolish certain portions of the park, but it's like it's small buildings and not like the main things that you think would be an eyesore. It's just very bizarre on what Disney's decision making is there. I've heard various rumors of people like direct DMing me on Twitter, telling me that they were former employees of Disney, saying that allegedly, this is all alleged too. I don't really know if it's true, but they were saying that Disney's keeping this there as an experiment to see how decay eats away at their fake rocks and stuff. And I guess that has some merit to it, but it's just very bizarre on how all that operates, really.
Interesting experiment.
Yeah, I guess.
All right, now I had at least one more question I wanted to ask, but let me give the crew one more shot at any questions that might have arisen during the conversation here. So
you're pretty good at asking the questions I'm thinking of.
Well, okay then.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Any thoughts? Ogre, any thoughts or funny observations?
No, I'm pretty good. It's been kind of interesting.
Nice. All right. Sobe, anything come to mind?
Yeah, actually, and this might have been something that you addressed earlier. I was just wondering where you're originally from.
Originally, I'm from Niagara Falls, Canada, Canada side.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Canadian, and right now I'm living in Toronto.
Okay.
The veritable mecca of art and culture.
It's true.
All right. Now, as for the future of your productions, you've been doing this for a little while. You've got more than 24 episodes under your belt.
Mhm.
As for the future, do you foresee yourself expanding into sort of an even bigger production, or is it going pretty well the way it is?
Bigger productions, I'm not sure. I like the format of Abandoned. I think
Mhm.
Abandoned works well as it is right now, and I think people really enjoy it, and it's always continuing to grow. So I'm always going to keep Abandoned there. I still have fun doing it, even though it takes absolutely forever. Uh, this week I have the second episode of a new show that we just started called Cancelled, which is a blood relative of Abandoned, if you will. It covers projects that never get off the ground or stuff like that. We have a good episode coming this week too. And yeah, we have a few more shows I have in mind. But I mean, the core principle of everything that I want to keep going is Abandoned, Cancelled, and Explore. I think those three shows, I think those are like, I think they represent what I'm trying to do pretty well. I like making shows in the format that I do, and I think people really enjoy them. So I'll probably keep going with those and see how that goes.
Okay, actually, I'm glad you brought up Canceled, because there's someone in the chat right now named Aiden Hasserclef. Did I say that right? Who mentioned Canceled, and so I'm glad you brought that up. As far as that goes, I didn't hear you talk much about that. What is that all about, and what are you hoping to do with that show?
Well, Cancelled is it's very similar to Abandoned. It's structured. It's formatted very similar to Abandoned. It's a narration of something. Cancelled was, I mean, I created that to cover certain topics that I couldn't necessarily cover on Abandoned. So this week we're doing Disney Quest, which was a project that Disney had planned for to build these indoor theme parks all over the United States and Canada. And they built one in Orlando, that's in downtown Disney. That's currently still open. It's closing in July. Another one was built in Chicago, which only lasted 2 years. And the foundation for one was built in Philadelphia. And that was the construction stopped on that when the project was canceled. So I cover in this episode, I cover all of the progress they tried to make with that, all of the news coverage. This was supposed to be a huge thing for the Disney company, and it just failed. So I really cover the cancellation of a project like this. And last episode I did a television show, and I have plans to do movies and television shows and cruise ship projects and all kinds of stuff. So I think Cancelled is an interesting way for me to talk about things that couldn't necessarily be covered on Abandoned.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds really interesting. I have to check out more of your channel, definitely, because I just got turned on to this by Petty Fan, our associate producer here, and like I said, this kind of stuff, watching the inevitable decay of the universe is always fascinating to me.
Yeah, this is like something that should be on National Geographic or something like that, but instead it's on YouTube.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you ever watched my earlier videos, they're pretty amateur. They were made by my ripe 16-year-old mind. So,
yeah, well, I don't have that excuse. If you go back about 9 years to our first episode of this show,
the only thing that's changed is you've added more people.
I feel you, bro.
Everyone has to start somewhere. I mean,
oh God,
the first episode of literally everything's going to be terrible.
The entire first episode was, just to give you an idea, the entire first episode of this program was actually an hour in length, but we only had a half an hour of audio. because the entire first 30 minutes of it was largely me sitting with my arms around my knees, rocking and trying not to cry. Because of all the technical failure. Oh my God. We used to have a guy named Potato Snip who would cheer us on to failure.
Oh, Potato still hangs around on Fragments.
I'm
Mhm.
sure. I'm sure. Agents of Chaos never tend to go away.
That's why I'm still here.
That's what you think. All right. Anything coming up that we should be watching out for?
Well, this week, like I said, Canceled is coming out this Friday at 5 p.m. EST. So look out for that. It's going to be a colossal of an episode. It took me forever to make, so hopefully it does well. Otherwise, I got some other videos down the pipeline. Probably early June, I'll have another abandoned video covering a department store that many may know in the and many may know in the, I think it was the northeast United States. Somewhere around there. I haven't announced what it is, but I guess I'll do it on this podcast.
Ooh, ooh.
It's
The Northeast United States. That's where I am.
Does anyone remember Bradley's department store?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've heard
so
of it. Yeah.
We'll be covering that for our next abandoned episode.
Nice.
Well, I guess the question I would have is, are you going to look into, I guess, the collapse of Sears at some point? That's
Yeah,
currently starting to implode on itself in spectacular fashion.
yeah, it really is, isn't it? Kmart and Sears are just falling by the wayside. Really, I mean, interestingly, Sears's stock price in 2000, I think it was 2007, was at $200 a share, or somewhere around $200. Right now, it's at, I think, $9.50.
Yeah, I remember seeing something that they're threatening to be delisted off the stock exchange.
Yeah. I think if it falls under $10, they're delisted or something around then. But
Wow.
yeah,
Which is,
they're
as they say, not good.
they're close to bankruptcy right now.
Yeah,
Bankruptcy
our
protection.
local Sears is closing.
Most of the Sears in Canada, I think there's like 10 left in Canada now, and Kmart is closing down, I think, 40 different stores in the United States just this month.
Yeah, we lost
so-
one of our Kmarts, and the other one
Yeah.
barely gets any traffic because everything's at Walmart.
I
They're
think that
they're really
was,
not doing well.
I think that was the beginning of the end. If you think about it for a second, there, I've heard this from a number of different investor people that I know, that really, while Sears has always had its ups and downs, the beginning of the end was when they acquired Kmart.
Yeah, I think the recession was a big hit to them in 2008 and 2009.
Mhm.
I think really now, when you think of Kmart and Sears now, you think of like the color gray. They're a very boring store to go to,
Oh,
and I think
God, yes.
that like it's just I don't know. I mean, they've been struggling for years, and I think now they're really starting to fall quickly. They haven't made money. I don't think they've turned a profit since 2010.
And it's kind
Yeah.
of funny because Sears started out primarily as a mail order thing, and now
Yeah,
the modern equivalent of mail order is what's killing it.
yeah.
Kind of ironic how that works, right?
Maybe someday you'll be doing an episode on the abandonment of the Sears Tower, which is actually owned by the Japanese. I know that was I was trying to make a joke and it fell flat.
now the
All right.
tower, I think.
Huh?
I think it's now called the Willard Tower.
Yeah, it
Willis
is.
Tower. I don't even think it's called the Sears Tower, right?
Yeah,
It hasn't been called the Sears Tower in ages.
Yeah.
that's depressing. They should call it that for just nostalgic purposes.
Well, they still do, but
Yeah. Just like the John Hancock building.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, Sears. Projections are showing that Sears and Kmart within the next few years, they're definitely falling much quicker than they ever were, and I think at some point the name Sears is going to be their only valuable asset, much like Circuit City and Ames were. So I probably will be doing an abandoned episode on them sometime in the near future for sure.
Nice. All right. Well, I gotta say that was fun, and we made it through a 35-minute interview with very little pain. So we're back, kids.
We're not rusty at all.
That was
should hope
great.
some of us-
Mm.
I should hope some of us aren't rusty, considering
Yeah,
we
yeah.
do.
Yeah, I was looking at this like bank of like 5 guys right over here who have another interview show that they do on a weekly basis.
We actually have guests on a weekly basis.
Oh, okay,
Working
see,
on it.
That's where the slam comes in. This is the point, Jake, where I say thanks a lot for being on our show. Now I must go kill my co-host. No, but seriously, this was great. I really enjoyed having you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We're going to spend about 5 more minutes talking about MST3K or possibly Hamdingers. So hang out for a minute and we'll give you a plug at the end of the program here.
Sure thing.
All right. I believe we were going to continue our MST3K conversation from last week, or do we even bother having time for that?
Do we have time? I mean, it's past
I don't
12.
I don't know. The elapsed time on the show right now is 55 minutes and 49 seconds.
I mean, how much could we
Well,
cover?
here's the question: what other obscure northern dishes did MST3K reference a lot?
Man,
I have to look that up, but I know they referenced a lot of places that were local, like say Stuckey's.
oh man, Stuckies.
Somebody
What's
look that
that
up real
one-
quick.
What's that
Wait,
one
what's that
beer
now?
they kept talking about?
What is
Is it
the name?
Schlicks?
Schlitz? Oh, Schlitz. Oh my God, Schlitz
Yeah,
malt
Schlitz.
liquor.
Mm-hmm.
Is that even around anymore? Or...
Yes, it is. Oh my God, it's terrible.
I think that's one of those things that kind of went out but then got revived.
Or
Apparently, Stuckey's is still around.
Yes, they are.
They're not that big, but they're mostly like souvenir shops at trucker stations now.
Mhm.
But they used to be quite the regional power, which is probably why they got referenced. Parts of the Clonus had fun with the old Milwaukee can.
Oh man. Good stuff. Oh,
Not to be confused with Milwaukee's Best, which
Oh, no.
are actually two separate beers.
But is Milwaukee's best?
It's not its finest. Let's put it that way. Milwaukee's finest is not their finest brew. Oh God.
Would you look at this? There's an entire site dedicated to Midwestern references in MST3K.
Of course there is.
This is, after all, the internet.
I think Sobe dropped off here.
No, I'm still here. I'm following up on what you're saying,
Nice.
especially when you started talking about Milwaukee. I have to represent a little here.
There you go. There you go. That's why I was getting afraid of that. We're talking all this smack about Wisconsin.
That link that you just sent, number 274. Can you borrow me $1? That's embarrassing.
Can you borrow me $1? Awesome. Oh God.
That is a thing in European languages, though. Sometimes the syntax for words for borrowing and lending is different between languages.
Mm.
The Night from Muncie, brought to you by Anderson Windows. Apparently, Anderson Windows is from Minnesota.
Minnesota, eh?
Yeah, like I said, the two states. If it's not Wisconsin, it's Minnesota. Yeah. Like I said, it's a real, or Michigan. It's real upper Midwest stuff.
Man, I almost cut in there. Whoa, I'm getting a lot of echo from over.
We're getting a lot of echo from you.
Okay.
Oh, no, of you. So.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I was gonna cut in there, Adam, when you said that, and I said, "Oh, a real humdinger." Try to bring the whole joke full circle.
But here's a reference to something called Bishop's Buffet, which is
Oh
the
man.
chain of classic Midwestern buffet restaurants that closed in 2012. Now, but this is just one aspect of the humor. And like,
Oh,
it's like a lot of it is rather obscure. Like, you're probably gonna have to be up on not just say like classic literature, but a lot of obscure shit that you wouldn't expect. I haven't noticed a lot of that in the new season, but
I fear is that Joel has become rusty, because Mike and the crew took over for so long.
Joel isn't like he's probably helping out with the writing, but remember, he's not doing the actual riffing.
Right.
The problem with the riffing in the new season is the speed, like, and the timing.
They don't let the horrible movies breathe.
No, they sing really quickly, and also sometimes the jokes aren't in sync. Like they'll start before the thing happens. I'm not sure if that's down to editing or the accelerated production or what, but it definitely gets noticeable.
Yeah. It looks like they're gonna go to try to get another season going. So I think that if they keep doing it, they'll probably hit their stride again. Especially since it's a new crew, they gotta kind of work. They gotta work the timing issues out there. Boy, that was hard to say. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Speaking of timing,
perhaps.
Here's an MST3K question. What was Big McLarge Huge's real name?
I know the actor's name, Red Brown, but I'm like,
that is a good question. It's almost on the tip of my tongue, and I can't think of it. The character's name, he was like Lieutenant something.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
Wow, it definitely wasn't Rousdower.
No, that's a name you remember.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I was trying to make a.
Yeah.
It's okay, guys. I was just trying to make a reference joke there. It's all right.
Okay. This is a reference to one of the few MS33K jokes I was acquainted with, even though I'd never actually seen the episode. And the movie is called Space Mutiny, and throughout the entire thing, they call the main character by something like
Beef
30
hard
different,
cheese.
30
Rock
different
hard
names.
cheese. Yeah, they give him.
We put our faith in Blast Hard Cheese.
Yes. Something about iron
They're all
chest.
collections of random, manly-sounding nouns.
Yeah, chest
Yes.
large, huge.
Roll
Yes.
hunt, rock groin.
Yeah, Bob Johnson. Wait a minute.
That's a recurring joke. The Bob Johnson reference is a recurring joke throughout the entire series, though, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, but in that case, it was subverting the ridiculous names with something normal.
Yes, and of course, who can ever forget that Raul Julia classic, overdrawn at the memory bank?
Oh my God. That actually had some of the best skits in like Public Pearl.
Oh God.
Oh, like Michael Nelson's Lord of the Dance.
God.
Remembering when Lord of the Dance was a thing. Is that still a thing? I literally have no idea. Like, anyway, the character's name is actually David Ryder. And she's no wonder.
Yeah, I like the fake ones better.
I'm like, yeah, I can't imagine why that got forgotten.
Interesting bit of trivia.
just
his-
heard the name Ryder, and I thought, she's presenting like a mandrill.
Wow. Interesting little tidbit trivia about that movie is that the woman who played his love interest actually became his real life wife after that film.
Yeah.
And
No way.
I believe they are still together to this day.
She's actually.
So what you're saying is that being in a terrible movie is a good bonding experience.
It's especially amazing since they have like zero chemistry together on screen.
Look, you couldn't put chemistry into this film if you went and bought a children's chemistry set
Mhm.
and placed it in every scene.
Or, poured it over the film.
Yeah, or poured it over the film.
That might actually be a better use of the
might improve
chemicals.
the quality of the film, but you wouldn't be adding any chemistry to it.
And yet I could rewatch this episode over and over and over again. I doubt I could watch this movie without the riffing, though.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of MST3K movies.
I just love the bit where he's like, I have a secret to tell you. Ho ho ho. I am Santa Claus.
Fetch me my warrior moo.
Where did they find this guy? And then all the psychosexual references to characters who have no actual part in the story whatsoever, other than to act as a MacGuffin.
Or the dead girl who comes back.
Well, Tasha Yar did that once, so.
Yeah, but this was just.
Did she actually come back, or was that just alternate universe her?
No, a little known fact is that Symbiosis actually aired after Skin of Evil.
Oh.
And there's a shot of her at the very end of that episode waving goodbye to everyone. Because she knew, because they actually, it's weird because I believe they actually filmed Symbiosis first.
Yes.
And then aired it after. And there was something screwy about the star dates too. So for a brief instant in time, but then again, that's not the first time that people have come back from the dead in Star Trek. Mr. Leslie is an excellent example of that. That motherfucker was stone dead in Obsession, and a few episodes later, bang, he was right back there looking at, Mr. Spock and Dr. McCoy sparring on the bridge. So.
Well, no, the first one was Bill Leslie, and then the second one was his cousin, Joe Leslie.
They were twin cousins. Amazing.
Yes, identical twin cousins.
This is now about Star Trek, apparently.
We're going to wrap it up right there. I just wanted to end on a high note, that's all.
Fair enough.
All right. So once again, gigantic thank you to our guest, Jake Williams of...
Bright Sun
Thank you for having
Films.
me.
It's right in front of me. Bright Sun Films. The words were there. I couldn't speak. It was
Good job, Mac.
Literally a block there. It's
Sometimes
sad.
my name is hard to decipher. I understand.
Oh my God. Welcome to yet another season of MSP, the show the podcast that's always professionally unprofessional. All right. But yes, Jake, thanks again for being on the show. Be sure to check out the channel Bright Sun Films. It's on YouTube. It's their shows, Abandon, are great. Explorer, very fascinating. I found it very interesting, and I'm looking forward to Canceled. So,
Actually, I just noticed that the URL is Bright Sun Gaming.
Shh.
it's a secret to everyone.
Something. Why can't YouTube let me change this?
Yeah, we put it in there. We were totally going to do one thing, and then another thing popped up. All right. Now that we've got that done, Petty Fan, what do we got going on next week?
I think you scheduled next week, Mac.
You're the associate producer. You're supposed to tell us these things.
Oh my gosh.
I don't have it
We
in
don't
front of
just
me.
ask you to tell us these things because it's your job to plan them most of the time. It's also just something for you to say.
Right.
I don't have the notes in front of me. Shuffling sound, shuffling sound, shuffling
This is
sound.
like that part in Major League where he's like, post show is brought to you in part by Christ, I can't find it. The hell with it.
You know, like how I give the opening bit for Fragments of Silicon, even though I don't actually do anything important.
Padding, padding, padding.
All right, if I'm not mistaken, I believe our guest next week is the incomparable Jen Wicked. She is a podcaster, an artist, broadcaster, entertainer of many stripes, fellow YouTuber, the works. She's a Jane of all trades. So I'm looking very much forward to this. I've been friends with her on Facebook for quite some time. She has a lot of mutual friends in the industry, so I'm pretty excited to have her on the podcast at long last. So be looking forward to that. And on behalf of the crew at Moonhawk Studios Presents, this is your MC, Mac Paladin, saying thanks for listening and stay safe out there, kids.